From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Friday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, 5 more deaths and more than 700 new confirmed COVID-19 cases across the state today. Yellowstone County topping the totals again with 155 new cases, pushing the county infection rate even closer toward a community-wide shutdown even as early as next week. Now, the death toll across Yellowstone County has reached 73 tonight. 3 of the 5 latest victims are local residents, including a woman in her 40s. Now, deaths are also reported in Roosevelt and Missoula counties, and this just in, we've learned of a death out of Bighorn County, a woman in her 50s. That brings the total to 6 today. That brings the statewide death toll to 212. Now, MTN reports an increase of more than 700 new confirmed cases today. So across the state, there are nearly 6,000 active cases tonight. Well, Yellowstone County reports 155 of those new cases today. And with that increase, the COVID-19 infection rate in Yellowstone County has jumped from 41 to 49 per 100,000 people. Now, if the 7-day average stays above 40 by October 31st, a new round of restrictions will be placed on local residents and businesses. Now, if that average reaches 50 per 100,000, those changes would go into effect sooner. And it appears as if that's where we are headed. Here's the breakdown of those numbers. Yellowstone County's population is just over 161,000. To stay under 40 new cases per 100,000, Yellowstone County must have no more than 452 new cases for the entire week. As of Thursday, October 8th, there have been 439 new COVID-19 cases. Now, if the threshold exceeds 565 when the Saturday cases are reported on Sunday, October 11th, that's this Sunday, Health Officer John Felton will issue a new order on Monday. Now, when asked this week how long that order would remain in effect, Felton told Q2 a minimum of 1 month. Well, this week, the state of Montana released a snapshot of COVID-19 hospital occupancy and capacity across our state. Both Billings hospitals facing the brunt of those patients. The report itself, however, appears to have some inconsistent and incomplete data for certain hospitals. Tonight, MTN's John Riley has more on why that is.
The state of Montana released their first COVID-19 hospital occupancy and capacity in Montana report on Thursday. Officials say it's intended to be a snapshot, with local situations changing frequently. The Montana Hospital Association says even so, it's good for people to see the broader impacts in their area.
I think for the public to understand is that as the community faces more spread, by looking at these numbers, you can immediately evaluate what is the impact on your community. Beyond those numbers that you see daily being reported from the state.
Looking just at the report, there is some incomplete data. Namely, St. Patrick Hospital in Missoula, one of the largest hospitals in the state, only had COVID-19 cases reported. Data on all the number of beds and ICU capacity are absent. The state says the missing data points are because St. Patrick didn't provide all requested information for the first report, but expect the information to be more complete in future reports. MTN has also discovered some inaccuracies concerning St. Peter's Health in Helena. The report said that they had 7 active COVID cases during the snapshot. However, St. Peter's says they've never had any more than 5 active COVID cases at any given time. Bed capacity in the report also didn't match. The state says again they're relying on data that was submitted to them, but have encouraged organizations to correct data in the system if they notice an error. MHA told MTN there's going to be anomalies, but they're working with the state and their members to help sort them out. But even without the report, with continued rise of COVID cases, hospitals need people to follow social distancing guidelines and wear a mask.
This is not a question of whether or not you're violating someone's civil liberties. This is a question of what is our role in humanity? What is our role in terms of how we are going to care for one another? And we know we have vulnerable populations. Montana has the 6th oldest population as a percentage of our total population.
Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Thanks so much, John. Well, today a 3-year-old child fell into a small thermal feature in Yellowstone National Park. The child has 2nd-degree burns to the lower body and back and was life-flighted to the Burton Center in Idaho. Yellowstone officials say the child took off running from a trail, slipped and fell into the water. This is the 2nd significant injury in a thermal area this year. In May, a visitor who illegally entered the park fell into a thermal feature at Old Faithful while backing up and taking pictures. It's time now to check in with Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. What's it like out there? I haven't been out today.
Well, it's actually a pretty decent day. We got a little cooler air moved in today, but starting tomorrow, things are changing on us. Let me show you what's happening. As you can see, we have another red flag warning that starts at noon tomorrow across much of central Montana. Up to the north of us, it goes until 8 p.m. on Saturday. Down here in the Billings area, and Billings is included in it, goes until 9 p.m. on Saturday. And over towards the southwest and also in Cody and the Cody foothills, that goes to us until about 8 p.m. on Saturday. So that's what's happening. We do have a red flag warning, and if that wasn't enough, look at this. We also are expecting a new cold front to move through, and over there by Butte on in towards Helena, we have a wind advisory 10 a.m. to about 8 p.m. on Saturday. Winds will be gusting up to 50 miles per hour, so it's going to be a pretty breezy day. We're looking for a warm front that'll move in. That'll cook us up very nicely. And then another cold front moves through, and it's a major weather pattern change. We'll talk about that coming up in a few more minutes. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, election officials mailed out hundreds of thousands of ballots to voters across Montana today. Tonight, MTN's Jonathan Ambarian tells us what voters need to know.
Mail ballots for the general election are now on their way out to most Montana voters. After weeks of legal fights and uncertainty, it appears the procedures for this election will be very similar to those for the June primary.
So it worked out well for us and for the voters that the instructions we're sending and the ballots we're sending are all valid, everything's legal and correct. That's included in there.
Governor Steve Bullock again gave counties the option to hold all mail elections in response to COVID-19. In recent weeks, judges allowed mail elections to go forward, and confirmed ballots must be returned by 8 p.m. on Election Day. 45 Montana counties are using all-mail ballots, including all of the largest counties. In the other 11, ballots have been mailed to those who choose to vote absentee. The Montana Secretary of State's office estimates 624,000 ballots were sent out Friday. Counties have also set up procedures for those who want to vote in person. In Lewis and Clark County, there will also be ballot drop boxes in Helena during business hours, and in East Helena, Lincoln, Augusta, and Wolf Creek on Election Day. In June, Montana saw its highest voter turnout in a primary in decades, as all counties used mail ballots, and officials expect another huge turnout this time. Lewis and Clark County is working to speed up ballot processing so they can let people know if there's an issue with the signature on their ballot.
So we're kind of gearing up, adding a few additional staff to that process, making sure everybody's trained and that can move very quickly.
Now, officials say if you're expecting a mail ballot and haven't received it by the end of next week, you should call your local elections office to check. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Now, if you still need to register, you can do that by mail through October 26th. After that, you need to register in person. We'd also like to remind you, Senator Daines and Governor Bullock will meet Saturday night in their final debate of their campaign season right here on Q2, starting at 6 p.m. Well, come the new year, a lot of Montanans will get a bump in pay. January 1st, the new minimum wage will go up 10 cents per hour to $8.75. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. In Montana, the minimum wage must be adjusted annually for inflation after citizens passed a ballot initiative in 2006.
Every year we look at the change in the consumer price index from August of the previous year to current August. And we use that to calculate inflation over the last year and apply that to the minimum wage to see a an equal percentage increase in minimum wage.
Now, the state reports an estimated 8,000 to 10,000 Montana workers received hourly wages less than $8.75 per hour in 2020. It also notes many minimum wage workers, like those in the food service industry, are frontline workers who are at the greatest risk of COVID-19 exposure. Up next on tonight's MTN News on Q2, if you're a fan of the Billings Symphony Orchestra, there have been some changes to this year's schedule. From the sound of high notes to fans cheering in the stands, it's a rivalry showdown between the Broncs and Falcons with a kickoff just a little bit away.